Welcome everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast Detox with Zeolite hangout that we're doing. I'm Scott Paton, and joining us as usual is the president and founder of the Life Enthusiast, Martin Pytela. Hey Martin, how are you doing today?
Hello Scott, good afternoon. Doing just fine. Doing wonderfully.
Good. We have a lot of people asking us about detoxification recently, and so we thought maybe what we would do is delve into it in a little more depth. So are you ready to give her?
Yes, let's give it our best effort. Let's put the zeolite in front of people. I tried to answer the most common questions that I have received about it and prepared a short presentation that outlines the issues.
Great. Okay, well here it is.
Number one, detox with zeolite. The main issue in autoimmune challenges are heavy metals, and especially the ones known as mercury, lead, cadmium, cesium, uranium, plutonium. We were not designed to live in the industrialized society. We were designed for a life in a savanna, in a field somewhere, picking berries. And instead, we ended up in a toxic situation. Somehow you managed to skip to, oh no, we're on the right slide, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what happens to us humans living in the industrial society is we end up with troubles. That picture you see on the bottom right on the slide, the human body, all these different organs can get affected by the presence of heavy metals. They really wreak total havoc in the immune system and how it works. And you get problems, and they get all these different names. The medical system focuses on symptoms rather than on causes. They don't tell you you have a mercury toxicity that's giving you these symptoms. Instead, they give you labels, and these are labels: autism, ADD, Asperger's. That's from the autism spectrum. You have the inflammation of a tissue spectrum, where you have fibromyalgia or arthritis, especially rheumatoid arthritis. And then you have these exotic things like Hashimoto's, which will affect your thyroid, or Addison's, which will affect your adrenals, or Sjogren's, which will affect your tear ducts. But you could have also these common problems that people get, like migraines. You would think that there's no relationship between toxicity, and you would not readily understand that migraine is an autoimmune problem, but it is. So the other parts of your body could hurt too. Your back, your ligaments in your arms or hands, which is the carpal tunnel syndrome problem, or your feet will hurt, which they call it the fascia. Well, fascia is all across the body, but plantar fasciitis, for instance, is an illness in your feet. But we need to come up with some solutions. These autoimmune diseases, they present themselves with all kinds of symptoms. For instance, look at the picture. Those are shots of vitiligo. The little boy on the right, the depigmentation, that's a localized vitiligo. And the boy on the left, he's suffered from it too, and he also has some lupus symptoms on his face. The solutions we have to deal with all of this need to deal with malnutrition, meaning that there are nutrients missing in your diet that you're not getting and should have. Stagnation, which is essentially a problem of not enough movement, not enough exercise, not enough circulation in your lymphatic system. And then the distortion of the subtle kind. You may have some emotional issues that are triggered subconsciously, and you may also be dealing with electromagnetic disturbances like cell towers in your neighborhood, or your smart meter, or your Wi-Fi and router in your house, things like that. But especially heavy metals and herbicides, pesticides, plastics, volatile organic compounds. These things all are involved in triggering the autoimmune response. And fixing these issues are the solutions that we need to use to reverse these conditions.
So what you're really talking about here is making sure that we're eating good food, we're drinking good water, we're getting some exercise, how much is, we won't get into, and then we're also living in an area that this is what happens when you go out into the mountains or you go out into the woods or you go by a river. All of a sudden we feel better, and one of the reasons we feel better is we don't have all of these electromagnetic influences affecting us as well.
Yeah, you just put your finger on something really important, the negative versus positive ions, or the lack of electrons. When you walk barefoot on the earth, on the grass, you're grounding, and the earth is the negative pole, and the sky is the positive pole, and the electrons are being resupplied into your body, thereby making you more alkaline. Acidity, as people understand it, is equivalent to not enough electrons. So when you're overly acidic, you can fix it by taking vitamin C or taking a barefoot walk in the park or just going into the forest.
When you were talking about the electrons, it reminded me how we always say, well, there's a lightning bolt and it comes from the clouds to the earth, but it actually goes the other way.
Yes, it starts at the bottom and goes to the sky.
So we're going to be talking now about the fourth, pillar of these four areas. We're not really going to be talking about the malnutrition, the stagnation, or the electromagnetic influences. We're going to be talking about the toxicities, because we're seeing so much of that in our environment, and that's something that going for a walk in the woods or drinking lots of water isn't. I'm not going to say that, but it's not enough, particularly with the amount of toxicity we have in our environment today.
The proverbial camel and the last straw that breaks his back. It could be any one of those four things, but we need to deal with all of them.
Right.
Hence the fourth chapter, the toxicity. And here comes Zeolite to the rescue. You could think of it as a little Pac-Man who goes around finding the heavy metal molecules in your body and globbing, like swallowing them, really. And Zeolite
and then it removes it from the body, right?
Right, yeah. So the way it works, you ingest Zeolite, you can use either the liquid form or the encapsulated or powdered form, and then ingest it, you drink it in, and once it goes in, it electrically attaches itself to the Zeolite. I'll show it to you in the next slide. The beautiful things that should be said about Zeolite, unlike other methods, is that it's very effective, very convenient, and very inexpensive.
And how about gentle?
Yeah, I should have put that in there. It's like nothing.
Because sometimes people will go on these detoxes and they break out in pimples all over their body or their face, and they get really tired, and they get headaches, and they get this and they get that, and they think, yes, we've caused a health crisis, but that's just your body detoxing, and so like that's not really a very pleasant way to do it.
I agree, and it's not necessarily the same thing. Like if, for instance, you stir up heavy metals. For instance, cilantro is really good at stirring up the heavy metals. Or there are other mobilizers like a chemical called TMPS. Sorry, doctors use it to cause the metals to be stirred when they do testing. Now, you can go to your doctor and request an ICP-MS test with I forget the word now. It's stimulate. No, it's not stimulation. It's activation. So they give you a dose of this DMPS. It stirs up all of the metals in your body, sort of the same way as you would stir the mud on the bottom of a pond. And then we'll see what your body's able to get rid of. And so they measured the output in your urine.
Great. So we stir all this stuff up. So basically what happens is we get these heavy metals into our body. The body then puts it somewhere, doesn't know really what to do with it, but it sticks it somewhere. Could be in a fat, could be in a cell, could be somewhere. And then it's going to cause problems like long term, but at least like today, it's kind of packed away. And if you're going to pull it out and just sort of stir it up as you've just described, then what happens is you probably don't feel all that good and everything else. It doesn't leave the body necessarily. Maybe a little bit of it leaves the body, and then it gets packed somewhere else. So what we're really talking about is let's get it out of the cells, stir it up, and then gently move it in an effective way out of the body.
Yeah, and with zeolite, there's no stirring. It's just whenever the molecule of zeolite comes in close contact with one of the heavy metal molecules, it just attaches it, and that's it. So unlike, for instance, IV drip chelation therapy, where you have to go to the doctor's office and put yourself on a drip of the I can't even remember the name of that chemical that they use. It's not coming to me. Anyway,
so
let's look at the next one.
They go on a drip, and it kind of takes it out of you. So
yeah, but what that is, it's very indiscriminate, so it also lowers your calcium levels, and you need to be sure that you remineralize and be very worried about how it affects you.
Right. Okay. Well, let's take a look at zeolite now.
Right. So this is what you would get if you ask for a bag of zeolite to treat your aquarium, or to deal with an industrial spill, or purify your air.
So zeolite's not something that's just sort of like came out of the blue, new age. We've been using zeolite in industrial applications for decades.
Oh yes, very much so. It's used for dealing with chemicals because it will really attract all kinds of things that I listed earlier: herbicides, pesticides, volatile organic compounds, every sort of a thing, acetones and whatnot, and heavy metals.
So when they had the problem with Chernobyl, one of the things that they did was put zeolite around the area, right?
Oh yeah, they dumped lots of it into the rivers, and they also used some better grade, food grade, to bake into cookies and fed it to their children. This was a massive application. They put truckloads of this stuff into the rivers.
Wow. Cool. So this, of course, we're not going to be asking people to chew on these rocks, are we?
No. This is not it. This is, you see, zeolite. Well, let's get to the next slide. This is what the pure and crystalline zeolite looks like. Sort of similar idea as when you see a quartz crystal, as opposed to a pebble on the beach. The pebble on the beach is sort of an opaque and milky colored, whereas the crystal is pure, and these shapes as we see here. And you can see the chemical formula. It's aluminum at the center, and well, it's actually alternating. Aluminum, silicon, oxygen. Those are the main elements that are bound together. This actually happens when a volcanic eruption takes place underwater, like somewhere under the ocean.
Oh.
And the lava somehow turns into this. And of course, that happened a million years ago, and then continents moved, and things got shifted, and we can now find zeolite not just under the water, but also in different sites in the mines all around the world.
It's amazing.
And some are pure, and some are not so pure. And the dirty ones are good enough for industrial applications, and only the very best grade, least contaminated ones are good enough for human consumption.
Okay. So for us chemists, this is kind of what it looks like.
Right. So as you put those aluminums and silicons and oxygens together, they would sit on these different points, and as they are sitting together, they are forming these three-dimensional spaces, and these cages will hold and bind inside of them these molecules. And if you want to read about it, I picked this image off of this Columbia University publication. There's a whole big report that explains it in great detail as to which types of molecules it will hold and how it will hold them.
But
All
in
you
other
need to
words,
know,
this is what nature's Pac-Man looks like.
yes, this is the actual model of it, and where and how it will hold the little prisoners that it will encounter. So we can just say that these sites, these where the red dot, blue dot, green dot are, those are the sites where the electropositive prisoner will be held in the electronegative cage.
So we're not looking at like one molecule of zeolite getting one molecule of a heavy metal. We're looking at one molecule. In this case, it looks like 5, but it could be multiple
oh yeah,
molecules.
It's a structure. It's a lattice structure. It's many on many.
Nice.
Yes. And here's another. I found this wonderful article by Baron Smith, a professor of chemistry at the Berkeley University, where he did a lot of studying of how it works, and this is the model that he uses to illustrate how these little prisoners are held in the cages in the lattice work. And so the blue-green things represent the electropositive prisoners.
So this would be your mercury or your aluminum or plutonium.
Yes, that's correct. All of those. The more electropositive, the better. The bigger the charge, the stronger the bond.
And the bigger the charge, the worse it is, probably, right?
Oh yeah, the more damage it will cause in your body.
Cool. So that's good news.
The good news is that it works, and the good news is that it's very benign. It's not non-violent, natural. GRAS generally recognizes safe material called zeolite that you ingest. It will do no harm other than to the offenders that are packed inside of you.
Right.
I took this screenshot off of the Life Enthusiast website. This is the category we bundled together the zeolites, humic, and fulvic acids because they belong together. And so when you are on the Life Enthusiast website, under products, in the supplements category, you can find under the zeolite, humic, fulvic. By the way, that's a picture of another form of the crystals. There's a video that explains it on our website.
Beautiful.
So if you could just push the next one, and these are the product shots of the different ones. Starting on the left, that's the liquid zeolite that's already blended with fulvic acid and also with some dihydroquercetin, a strong antioxidant. So that's sort of like an all-in-one, easy-to-use, just a few drops in every glass of water, and convenient and easy to take. The next one is the zeolite AV. That's in capsules, powdered zeolite, but this time mixed with the humic acid. And then the third one, it's mixed with vitamin B12 for people who will suffer with chronic fatigue, I suspect, or other issues that are causing their vitamin B12 levels to be low. And the next one is called Esdifan, and that one is really good for diarrhea. Take it with you anytime you go traveling or anytime you go into foreign places, because it will help mop up whatever digestive distress you may get into. So it's zeolite and calcium and vitamin B12 put together. Very effective. And that one is called Zeolite Pure.
Sorry?
That's okay. That's the Zeolite Pure is a pound of the pure powder. So you would have to buy 30 or 40 times more of the liquid to get the equivalent of this. So once your initial cleansing is done, you may as well switch to the powder, especially if your lifestyle supports it.
Well, to be quite honest, and just to share, when I make cereal in the morning for myself, I usually put some, I'm not going to say, like, it's not a spoonful, but I usually put a little bit on my cereal. I mix it in with my cereal and my milk. I can't even tell it's there. It's tasteless. It's not, I don't get any grit or anything else. I don't even know I'm having it, but it's there and it does its job. It's
Right.
really easy to take.
And it's important, thank you, it's important to note that this is something that we all should be taking every day, because
Yeah.
every day there is some heavy metal arriving, whether it's coming in off of the poisoned Pacific Ocean in the form of radioactive cesium or maybe even plutonium, who knows, or whether it's coming in as mercury that's coming from the coal burning power plants on the wind. It could be coming on the jet stream from China because they burn tons and tons of coal, but it could also be the North American power plants too, locally. And of course, the fuel burning in cars that releases heavy metals to all of us.
So if you're driving, you're getting it.
If you're anywhere in an urban environment, and even in a rural environment, yeah, it's been found even on the North Pole. Yeah.
And then our last one.
That's fulvic acid. That's what a bottle of Fulvic looks like, and that's in the same category, and that's its friend. Fulvic is really good at helping the body release the toxic metals out of the cell into circulation. So it's helping the zeolites by kicking these unwelcome guests out of the cells into circulation, so that the zeolite can grab it and take it out of you. Zeolite doesn't stay in your body very long. It's only 3 or 4 hours, so you need to take it steady. As if you're doing a serious detox, you want to take it 4 or 5 times a day. Here's something well worth reading. Would you mind?
Sure. I just received the package of Zeolite that I ordered in your gift of an extra bottle. Thank you so very much. This was more of a gift than you know. About a year ago, I unknowingly used some very unpure magnesium oil for about 3 months until I put 2 to 2 together and realized I was dealing with some very strong heavy metal toxicity because of it. I have not felt like myself for a year now. I've tried several things on my journey to detoxify, and the Zeolite is the only thing that seems to have made any lasting difference. I'm starting to feel like myself for the first time in a year and to see some really positive changes of late. On top of all of this, I have been really financially stretched this year, so affording anything out of the ordinary has been a huge stretch. Many, many thanks again.
So this letter is by a young lady. I think she's in her 20s. And check out what happened, right? She used some unpure magnesium oil. This is the sad thing. Like, you can buy magnesium chloride as a sidewalk deicer for peanuts, nothing. I mean, it costs $10 for 40 pounds.
Yeah.
And people, I don't know, not knowing the dangers of it, they just use it and ingest it. And she did herself in terribly. She had serious heavy metal poisoning and lots of trouble. So anyway, I just felt for her and sent her an extra bottle that she bought. And I mean, she bought 2 bottles. I sent her a 3rd one, and she was feeling very grateful for that.
Yes.
But it's there's your example of how terribly people can feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all she knows.
Whoops.
I know, we're at the end and the beginning. We can review if you like, but it's the point is, zeolite is the technical or technological antidote to our technological folly. I wish. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's amazing to me that, every problem has a solution, and they don't always have to be, go into a huge hospital and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on chemicals and medicines and who knows what else. It can be as simple as taking something that we use every day in industry for this very reason, to detoxify an environment that we know is toxic.
Exactly. Well, my position on this is that we all should use zeolite all the time. I shared a bottle of it with one fellow just a week ago. 3 days later, he calls me and he said, I was not able to feel my toes. I had some gout in it. In 3 days only, it's so much better that I feel my toes again. Oh, and one other thing, my finger on my hand was sore and I couldn't move it. It was getting stiff, and that's gone too.
Nice.
Right. So
that's
it's
really
those.
Cool.
You just don't know what the problem may be. You can spend $300 on a doctor-ordered heavy metal test to get yourself tested to see just what you're toxic with. But instead of spending $300 on the test, why don't you spend $100 on the detox and just get rid of the stuff anyway?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because we know that it's there. We know everybody's got it, and we know that here's a gentle, effective, inexpensive way to get rid of it permanently.
Exactly. Well, that's all we have for today, I think.
Great. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Head over to www.life-enthusiast.com. We have lots of articles, information there. And Martin, if somebody wanted to give you a quick call and talk about their specific issues, how can they get a hold of you?
I am available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific time at Life Enthusiast, and the phone number is 1-866-543-3388. Great.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everybody. If you've got any questions, make sure you go over to the Life Enthusiast Co-op site, and we've got a contact page. You can contact us through there. If you have topics that you'd like us to consider for future shows, we'd be happy to and delighted to talk about them. And thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.